Hey everybody, decided to do a video that didn't really consist of additions to my collection. I do have one because some mail came for me the day later on after I made my last video. So I wasn't expecting it for a couple more days, so I didn't think that it was going to come. So I'm just going to share the newest edition, and that is Heart, 1977's Little Queen. I think most people probably recognize like Barracuda is probably the biggest, most well-known song on this album. But I got it for a really good price on eBay. I think I paid like a couple bucks for it. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So I decided to do a 10 perfect album list. This isn't the top 10 that I have. This is just, I just grabbed 10 that I thought, in my opinion, were perfect albums. So these aren't ranked or anything. If anything, they just kind of go in backwards alphabetical order because that's how they ended up getting stacked. So some criteria I used were obviously no greatest hits. I didn't do any live albums, no EPs, and there was one other thing I used. Oh, and I didn't limited it to one per band as well. So I'm going to start the list off with Scorpions' Blackout. To me, there are no weak songs on this album whatsoever. This is my favorite of the 80s Scorpions records. But just to me, just a great record from them. The next one I'm going to show is Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime from 1988. Now, this isn't my favorite Queensryche album. It's actually their self-titled EPs. That's my favorite, which I don't have, but I wouldn't have used anyway because I said no EP. So we only have this one and Empire, and between the two I figured this was the one to use. A great concept album. Just great songs on the album. Nothing that I would want to skip past if it was on something you could skip past. Kind of hard to figure out on the record exactly where you are. This next one from the same year is my favorite Metallica album, and that's And Justice for All. Not a single weak song on this record, and to me I think it's their most, if you want to call an album brutal or whatever, to me I think this is their most brutal record that they ever did. Obviously coming off the death of Cliff Burton and the inclusion of Jason Newsted. Probably a lot of criticism will come from this album simply because of the absence of Cliff and also the production. But I think that the production actually on this album, even though it's not the best that they had, I think it kind of brings out some of those more brutal qualities of the song. So that is number 3. Number 4, staying in the thrash family, 1986 Megadeth, Peace Sells. Again, not a weak song on this record. I choose this album because I think it's got their best combination of musicians, with Gar Samuelson on drums and Chris Poland on guitar as well. I know a lot of people probably aren't too high on the Ain't Superstitious cover. I happen to like it. I think they do a really good job you know, kind of making it its own. And for the longest time, I didn't even know it wasn't a Megadeth song. And I think that's how you really can tell a band does well on a cover song, is where you really can't tell because it sounds like that band. Now, there's a lot of bands where you can tell almost like immediately that it's not one of their songs because of either the way the music's structured or whatever. But I think the Megadeth really did a good job on that. Just a perfect record. And my favorite from them. The next up is another concept album from 1988. King Diamond, Them. Not my favorite King Diamond album. The Graveyard's actually my favorite. I have two of his. I have this and The Fatal Portrait, which all of his albums are great. But I just think the after The Graveyard, this has probably got the best storyline that he ever did. And it has a pretty cool sequel in Conspiracy. Next up, one of my absolute favorite albums of all time. Not 1980 though, 1990. Judas Priest, Painkiller. Like I said before on the video where on the day that I bought it, not a single weak track on this album. Just from cover to cover, just blazing. You know, the one ballad-esque, if you want to call it, Touch of Evil, such a great song. Rob Halford showing his range. And we get one from 1983. Recently featured Iron Maiden, Power Slave. Again, not a single weak track on this album at all. The first album they did with Nico McBrain on drums. And then this next one, which, let's see, I got two more after this one. So we've done 7 so far. One that was gifted to me from Ron, and that is Def Leppard, Pyromania from 1983. Awesome, awesome record. I mean, how can you not think Rock Till You Drop, Photograph, Stage Fright, Too Late for Love, I mean, Die Hard the Hunter, that's just side 1. I mean, this just a perfect record. I chose it over High and Dry just because I like it just a little bit more. Alright. And at number 8, Death Symbolic. This is their 1995 effort. Really, really great album. My favorite song on here is actually my favorite Death song, Crystal Mountain, but just excellent playing. Very progressive style. More kind of, in my opinion, Death did a lot of things for death metal. I think they really kind of started the melodic death metal trend. I think they also started the technical death metal trend as well. And last but not least, an album that I know that Ron showed on his bands with 4 perfect records in a row, and that is Restless and Wild by Accept from 1983. Great record. You got songs like you got Fast as a Shark, Restless and Wild, Neon Nights. I mean, it's just Flash Rockin' Man, Princes of the Dawn, one of their staples in the live set. Perfect record. So those are the 10 albums that I chose. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and God bless.